What's up, everybody? D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing my review for The Walking Dead Season 8, Episode 4, titled Some Guy. I think it was Episode 4. I don't remember. Oh, it was. It's okay. So, I'm a couple weeks behind, but it's okay, because I will, you hear me? I will 100% this week catch up, no matter what. Alright? Now, I know some people are like, ugh, who cares? And by some people, I mean all the thousands of people that don't watch these videos. But for those of you guys who do, and those of you guys who actually like my Walking Dead videos, I will catch up. Sorry, I'm behind. So, Some Guy is an episode that really made me realize two things. Number one, I love this show. I mean, Season 8, I've said it in previous videos, I don't think it's necessarily the best season. I don't think it was necessarily as good as they hyped it up to be. But this episode right here really made me realize this is why I love this show. These episodes right here are why I love this show. It is such a smart episode. It's not one that goes all out on the action to try and, thrill ride the audience. No, it doesn't do that at all. The action sequences worked into this episode are worked in naturally, and they're great. This episode is all about breaking King Ezekiel, and they do that perfectly. They have that nerdy serial killer-esque savior show up and drag him along and really mentally break him down. And then Ezekiel gets free of him in one of the greatest scenes of all times. Well, it could have been. I mean, they really cut back on the gore with that, with Jerry killing that savior. And I don't feel like I need to, hold myself back on spoilers for an episode that's weeks old at this point. But when Jerry kills his savior, I mean, spoiler alert, he cuts the dude in half with this giant battle axe. That is so cool, man. I love it. I mean, they really should have. They could have shown more, but it's awesome the way that it happens. Now, I was really worried that Jerry was gonna die this whole episode, and I'm kind of all over the place in this review. Sue me. It's, I got a lot of thoughts on an episode a couple weeks old. They're all bouncing around my head. Okay, so I was really like, oh no, Jerry, oof. The whole episode, he's gonna die when his battle axe snaps, and he's like, thank you, King, for being such a cool dude. I was like, no, man. I was so worried. I was like, Jerry's dead, dude. Luckily, that doesn't happen. And then Carol's pretty great in this episode. Now, that brings me to my second point. This episode really makes me realize that I miss the bottle episodes. I don't know why everyone was complaining back in Season 7. I'm sure I did too, honestly, but I also remember doing a fair amount of defending the bottle episodes, being like, no, these are some great episodes right here. And I think that shines through perfectly in this episode. This is a bottle episode. It is King Ezekiel's episode. You never break away from Ezekiel. You're always with him. Literally, the only one time you break away from him is a 5-minute scene with Rick and Daryl. That's totally fine. Bottle episodes can break away for a couple minutes to show some other character. We saw it a couple times in Season 6 and 7 as well. 6 doesn't have that many bottle episodes, but still. The point I'm trying to make here is I really miss the focused episodes where you take one storyline and then you just run with it. This episode is perfect for that. I mean, earlier complaints that I've had this season have had to do with the directing and the editing. And the editing is important because the problem that I had with it was that it was edited in such a rapid way where you were cutting from one group to another group to that same group that you started with to a brand new group so many times it just got annoying. You never focused up. You never just got down to one storyline and stuck with it. This episode, you do that. That's all you do. You stick with Ezekiel's episode. Even when you cross over into Rick's and Daryl's storyline, it is literally a continuation of Ezekiel's storyline. Carol doesn't catch the guy who's driving the truck away. Rick does. That's why Rick's in the episode. Rick's not in the episode just to have Rick in the episode. Rick's in the episode to finish off that loose end. That is how bottle episodes, really episodes in general, should be done. You have one set story and then you break away when needed, not just because it makes a more action-packed episode. That just detracts from it for me. This episode does great things with the characters. For Ezekiel, you really get a sense of who this guy was. You know the ins and outs of this character now, and I love it. In the comics, when I read them, once I got to All Out War, I was like, oh my god, they totally ruin Ezekiel. Because in the comics, it kind of comes out of nowhere. He loses a couple men. You don't even read it. It's just Ezekiel recapping it like, yeah, we got ambushed. My men died. And so did my tiger. and he's just from that point on in the comics like a complete wuss. In the show, you actually really get an idea why. You see this savior mentally break him down. He's physically broken down. He's been shot. He's been wounded. This episode's really good on the gore, which also breaks him down. So, like I said earlier, they do cut back on it more than I'd like, but they do show a lot too. When you start out the episode with all the dead bodies and Ezekiel's looking through these holes and these people, these giant bullet holes that just ripped these people to shreds, his men, you get the gore factor in that scene, and that also breaks him down. That visually breaks him down. He's seeing a visual representation of his loss. That's his men right in front of him. He physically is broken, like I said. He's mentally broken. He's broken every single way you could be broken, even spiritually, when his tiger gets killed. And Shiva's death, I really didn't expect it to weigh on me at all. I read the comics. I knew it was coming. I talked about it in my trailer reaction. I knew Shiva was going to die right here. But it still was actually one of the surprisingly impactful deaths in The Walking Dead of all times. Like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just that I can relate. I'm a pet owner. I can relate to watching a pet die. I don't know. I don't know why that tiger's death weighed so heavily on me. And it wasn't like I cried afterward. No, that wasn't the case at all. It was just like, wow, that's I surprisingly did not expect that to make me even feel anything, but it did. Jerry, this episode was fantastic. You get a sense of just how dedicated he is, and it turns out, you realize throughout the rest of this season up till where we are now, that Jerry isn't doing it just because he likes Ezekiel. That's just honestly not why he's doing it. He's doing it because he likes Ezekiel, sure, but he also respects the kingdom. He's doing everything he does is for the kingdom's best interests, even if, in the newest episode, Ezekiel isn't doing what's in the best interest of the kingdom. That adds some depth to Jerry's character as well. Now he's no longer the funny guy. He actually pulls his weight here. He's a really cool fighter in this episode. He's funny like always, but he's also a very emotional, deep character now. Carol in this episode, she's awesome like usual. I've never been a huge Carol fan, but I can really see the appeal of Carol in this episode. I've compared her to MacGyver in the past, and I'm sure many others have too, but she's definitely got a MacGyver thing going on throughout this show. And then Rick, Rick's got his awesomeness jumping from a moving car to another, and then Daryl's, I hate Daryl. So, there's that. Rick's and Daryl's scene in this episode is a cool one, but it's actually one of my least favorites because the way it's directed, whoever directed it's got that weird crazy zooming going on that just I'm not a fan of. I've been talking about it all season. Whoever did this stuff, get rid of them. And this episode does not get rid of them. In fact, none of the episodes do. Where we are currently, still have that same problem. But that does it for my review of Some Guy. I got a lot more to say, I feel like. I'll talk about it in my further reviews. And I have decided, instead of doing an episode breakdown for every episode, I'm going to compile, I've talked about this, I think in a previous video, just compile my favorite little Easter eggs from each episode into one video at the end of the mid-season. That's what I'll do. But I don't usually do ratings. However, this episode was so good, I feel like I might as well just put this as its rating, saying that I think Some Guy is the best episode of Season 8 to date. And that includes Episode 6, which is the newest one. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. See you guys next time. D-Man out.